in
Temple
Lebanon.
of Jupiter?
This is what they call it. There's undoubtedly a Roman temple there, okay? And that Roman temple dates from the known historical period, some 200-300 years after Christ. It's the Roman Temple of Jupiter, and it's very extraordinary, but it stands on these huge foundations. There's a group of stones, three stones, called the Trilithion, which are each weighing 840 tons. 840 tons.
What the fuck?
And they are lifted to 20 feet above the ground and built into a wall. I've sat on top of one of those stones. I've been down underneath it and looked up at it. To 840-ton stones. This is a gigantic achievement. Now, the Orthodox view is that the Romans did everything. That they built those foundations and they built the temple. I think, and many researchers who've studied them in this field agree with me on this, that actually the Romans found a much more ancient site, which was just extraordinarily megalithic, gigantic stones, and they built their temple on top of it. And later historians have simply given the whole thing to the Romans without considering what was going on there. And part of the reason I think that is because of these stones that are still in the quarry, which I was trying to, I don't know if it showed up on the screen. I got it. You got it. I'm trying to show it, I'm trying to show it just now. These stones stood in the quarry, okay? Now, so what the historians say is that the Romans, okay, they found they could move the 840-ton stones.
That's 1,680,000 pounds. For people who don't like the word ton.
You got your calculator going there?
Yeah, I had to because it didn't make sense. I was trying to double it, but it's not double.
No.
Like, it's 2 pounds. Like, it's 2,000 pounds.
It's a
for every
fearsome
ton.
number, whatever
Right?
it is. It's
That's
just
what it is.
a fearsome number. It's extraordinary.
2,000 pounds for every ton. So I was going 2,000 for each. What? 840 times 2,000?
Yeah.
Is that real? And then that's what it is.
That's what it is.
1 million.
So here's the thing. Those are the 840-ton blocks in the walls, in the foundation of the temple. Then we go to the quarry and we find this humongous thing, which weighs over 1,000 tons. And there's another one on the other side of the road, which weighs 1,200 tons.
1,200 tons. 2,400,000 pounds.
Yeah. So
What
here's
the fuck?
So here's the theory, okay? The Romans found they could move the 840-ton blocks, and they did. This is the Orthodox theory, and then they built their temple on top of it. But they found they couldn't move these 1,000 or 1,200 plus ton blocks, and by the way, this one is completely separated from the bedrock out of which it's been cut. They couldn't move them, so they left them in the quarry. I think that actually proves that the Romans didn't create the 840-ton megaliths, because if the Romans had known that these gigantic blocks if they had cut the blocks, okay, if they had cut them themselves, which we must say they did, if we are saying that the Romans were responsible for these megaliths, if the Romans had cut these blocks themselves, they knew they were there, and the very first thing they would have used for the smaller blocks that they put into place in the Temple of Jupiter was these large blocks. They would have sliced them up like a loaf of bread into smaller blocks and moved those over to the temples. The fact that these huge megaliths still stand in the quarry suggests to me that they were buried when the Romans came to that site, because otherwise it would have been the very first thing they would have used for quarrying smaller blocks, that they were buried, and that the Romans found an existing prehistoric megalithic platform, and on top of it they built their Temple of Jupiter.
That's a fascinating theory. It seems like open to interpretation to me.
Sure.
Because
It's just a theory.
Yeah, because you're looking at, but either, regardless of why they built the 1 million? Jesus Christ. 2,400,000.
It's freaky when you do it in pounds.
That's insane. Yeah, when you do it in tons, it's abstract.
Yeah.
1,200 tons. Okay, what's that mean? It's hard for my head.
Well, let's consider an average vehicle, which might weigh. Let's push this weight up.
4,000 pounds.
So it's about 2 tons, right? Is that
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the weight of an average vehicle? So 2 tons divide 1,000 by that. So you're looking at 500 family-sized cars in a 1,000-ton block.
In 1,000 tons. Oh my God. It's just imagining a 2 million pound rock and a bunch of dudes are moving it. And we know that someone at some time in history, they built that, they moved those stones. I mean, it wasn't that one, right? What was the first calculation that we had? what did we say it was? 640 tons? Is that what
No,
you said?
there's 3 blocks of 840
840,
tons each,
so a
joined
million.
so closely that you can't slip a sheet of paper between them. I mean, they've not been just roughly levered into place. They've been set down with perfect precision.
Yeah.
So
someone did that. We know
someone
that.
did that, and there are plenty of people arguing that the Romans did it. I feel, along with other researchers who've approached this subject, I want to look at alternative possibilities for what these megaliths are all about, and that's one of the things I've been doing for the last year, is traveling around the world, looking. I feel so lucky to have the opportunity to do this.